Well, that didn't take very long. I hope you actually did it. You will have learned a lot more if you actually went off and did what I just told you to do. Let's flip over and take a look at my answer to our programming dilemma that we had to produce here. Here's our func1 and func2 and func3 calls to those functions. I'll spread them out a little bit so you can see what's going on here. Here's our definition of function 1, just like we had earlier. It's going to return the printf, I am function 1. And here's func2 and func3 down here. Now, if we save this, just like that, and then we go to our command line, and I have already saved it. I called it func1.c, so you can see right there, and we compile and link it, and it does that, and we run it. There it goes. I am function 1, 2, and 3. Now, how many of you had some problems with that? Maybe if you didn't put these things in quite right, let's say that we didn't have the return. If we leave that off and we do a file save, we'll come back here and compile the program. There's some errors. That's what errors look like coming out of the compiler. If you're an excellent programmer, you'll never see these. If you're a normal programmer, you'll see lots of these. But here's some problems. Here it says func1.c line 13, warning, function must return a value. Now, it still produced our function 1 program, but it gave us some warnings. Func1 must return a value. And if I widen this a little bit, maybe you can see, well, I have it as wide as it'll go. Func2 colon must return a value. And those are just warnings because ANSI says that if you don't say otherwise, that these functions should return values. Well, we're not returning anything because we took our return statement out of there. So that's an issue. And right now, the way these are defined, we expect a number to come back, but we never gave one back. Okay, so that's a problem there. So if we put our return back in there, we can make that warning go away. Save it. Whoops. We'll compile it again, and there we got rid of our warnings. And now we know that func1 will work the way we wanted it to. There's other things that we're going to see here in this section in the next few videos about how we define functions and how we understand what is supposed to be inside these parentheses and what happens if we don't say anything. That's what we've done here is we've just created these function definitions. We didn't put any declarations at the top to help the compiler understand what's going to go in here and what's going to come out. So there's a lot more to understand about functions and how they're used. But at least you see what's going on now. Also understand that all of these functions, each individual one, could have been in its own source file. It could have been in func1.c, func2.c, func3.c, and then those files would have had all of the code and even possibly more functions in them. Each of them would have been compiled separately by our compiler, and then we would have had some directives that would have linked them all together. So that's possible too, and that's how you start doing some big development projects and spreading them all over the world by having those source files able to be spread all over. So that's the basics of functions, just the beginnings. And now we're going to go take a look at some functions that return non-integers and get a little more complicated with the whole idea.